Hello and welcome back to Best Anime Recaps. Today I will recap the movie called The Boy and the Beast. Ren runs furiously across Shibuya's crowded streets, evading the notice of the street cops. He finds refuge in an alleyway and shares his meal with a little mouse. He gives the mouse the name Chico. Chico's lonely situation reminds him of himself. Ren just lost his mother, and because his father is no longer present, he has been invited to live with extended family. He refused, and as a result, he fled away, leaving him homeless. In the Beast Kingdom, the Grand Master, the kingdom's ruler, has announced his retirement, allowing him to reincarnate as a god. He mentions two possible successors, the popular Iozan, who has a large number of disciples and 2 children, and the strong Kumatetsu, who is lonely and lazy and has no disciples. The Great Master orders Kumatetsu to seek a disciple in the hopes that it will motivate him to succeed. Kumatetsu stumbles across Ren laying between some bicycles while exploring the streets of Tokyo with his unofficial companion, Tatara. He is hesitant to engage with Kumatetsu, who threatens to hurt him. Ren is stunned to discover that he is a beast after having a better look at him. Kumatetsu looks him in the eyes, sees promise, and invites Ren to join him. Confounded by the encounter, he stands motionless before pursuing the beasts, but he soon loses sight of them. When the street cops realize he is a runaway, they pursue him. He eludes the cops for the second time. After catching a sight of Kumatetsu entering an alleyway, he chases him. This takes him to Judingai, where he is hounded by some of the city guards until being rescued by the monk Heyakushibu. He explains to Ren that he is in a strange world where beasts, unlike humans, may become gods and offers to bring him back to the human realm. Kumatetsu, who interrupts, is surprised that he followed him, so he formally makes Ren his student. Despite Hayek's opposition, Tatara, who was Kumatetsu's companion, recounts the issue. Ren follows him home but refuses to become his disciple. He is asked his name but refuses to disclose it, instead giving his age. As he is 9 years old, his unofficial master gives him the name Kyoto. Ren, now known as Kyoto, had a fight with Kumatetsu the next morning. He rushes towards town, where he encounters Iozan and his 2 children, Ichirohiko and Jerimero. As Kumatetsu searches for his wayward apprentice, the 2 Grandmaster hopefuls mock one another. Everything becomes serious when it is discovered that Kyoto is a human child. Iozan warns Kumatetsu about the perils of mankind, stating that they might hide evil deep inside their hearts. This might jeopardize the safety of all kingdom people. They have a showdown to settle their quarrel, with Iozan having the backing of the bystanders. He defeats Kumatetsu. His Kyoto's attention is disturbed by the overflow of support for Iozan. Kumatetsu is easily beaten as Ren cheers for him. The Grandmaster, on the other hand, declares that the true duel of succession has not yet occurred. Despite the threats, he permits Kyoto to stay. As they return to what they were doing, the bystanders disperse. Kumatetsu, vanquished, returns home. Kyoto decides to accept Kumatetsu as his master after being impressed by his grit and tenacity in the face of solitude. Their first training session is a fiasco since Kumatetsu is unable to teach the technique correctly. He vanishes for a few days. Frustrated, Kyoto utilizes this time to take care of the additional tasks that come with being a disciple, such as cleaning and cooking. He is bullied by Juramara because he is human, but he is saved by Ichirohiko, who feels sorry for him. Kumatetsu returns from his sabbatical. In contrast to Togashi, he is surprised to find his apartment spotless, and his apprentice is beaten later that night. The Grandmaster pays them a visit and introduces them to the previous Grandmasters through letters of introduction. The trip begins with the group asking each predecessor what true strength means to them, but Kumatetsu is unimpressed with their responses. When Kyoto returns, he finds he can learn by mimicking his master's movements. As he performs housework, he improves to the point that he can replicate the movement without looking, even evading Kumatetsu assaults in a fight situation. Heyakushibo and Tatara, who are impressed, recommend that Kyoto be taught his master's skills. They soon begin training together. After 8 years, the teenage Kyoto has become a distinguished kendo practitioner. Moreover, through his relationship with Kyoto, Kumatetsu gains his own following of supporters, including the younger son of Iozan, Jirimaru, who wishes to be trained by Kumatetsu. After being chased around by his master, he finds himself back in the human world. He is unable to read past primary level. Kid, a young student, helps him read and they become friends. He lives a double life as Kyoto in the Beast Kingdom and Ren in the human world. After so many years absent from the human world, he finds his father. Ren learns that his dad has been searching for him since he disappeared. He only found out much later that his mother died. By then it was too late. Back at Judingai, Kyoto makes Kumatetsu aware of his decision decision to go back to the human world. His master fails to stop him. Back in the human world, Ren explodes at his father as he tries to move their rekindled relationship too fast. In this angered state, the darkness within him manifests, almost consuming him. Kid calms him down and gives him a bracelet that he can use as a focus point to relax when he gets anxious. In the Beast Kingdom, the residents are making preparation for the succession duel between Iozan and Kumatetsu. Jiromiru invites Kira to his house to have a catch-up. On the way out, he is attacked by Ikirohiko, who also has symptoms of darkness within him. The day of the succession duel arrives. Kumatetsu starts off strong by pushing Iozan back with a barrage of attacks. Iozan defends well, quickly launching an effective counter. Concealed between the excited crowd, Kyoto looks on as his master collapses. On a 10 count, he reveals himself and encourages Kumatetsu to resume the battle. Spurred on, he cracks the sheath of Iozan's sword and delivers a knockout blow, becoming the new Grand Master with the help of his #1 student's encouragement. The audience is taken aback by the surprise, but they continue to cheer. As he prepares to leave, Iozan gracefully accepts defeat. When Kumatetsu is declared the winner and the new lord, Iozan's elder son Ikirohiko is revealed to be a human who had been found on the streets of Tokyo as an infant and adopted by Iozan. Having developed a vacuum in his heart like Kyoto, unwilling to believe that he is a human and not a beast, Ikirohiko manifests telekinetic powers and seriously injures Kumatetsu with Iozan's sword. Kyoto is nearly overtaken by his own emptiness and tries to kill Ikirohiko, but regains his senses with Kid's bracelet as Ikirohiko is consumed by darkness and disappears. Kyoto decides to leave for the human world to fight Ikirohiko. When Kid refuses to leave him, they are attacked by Ikirohiko, who takes the form of a destructive whale. Unable to hold his own against Ikirohiko, the young man decides to use the vacuum within himself to absorb his opponent's negative energy and then kill himself, saving everyone else. However, Kumatetsu uses his new privilege as the Lord and reincarnates as a deity, taking the form of a sword to be handled with the heart in reference to their first training session together. He merges with his pupil's form, filling his empty void within him. Together, the two manage to defeat Ikirohiko without killing him. Ikirohiko wakes up surrounded by his adoptive family with no memory of his time possessed by the darkness and with Ren's bracelet on his wrist. Meanwhile, back in Shibuya, Ren is talking to Kumatetsu, who now resides inside him, and the two have a heartfelt moment together, with Kumatetsu promising to always be there for Ren and threatening to beat him up from the inside if he wavers again. In the aftermath, Ren celebrates his victory with Kid in the Beast Kingdom and returns to the human world. After reconciling with his father and himself, Ren decides to live once again in the human world with Kumatetsu forever residing in his heart. The end.